The call came at 2 in the morning, the kind that makes your blood turn cold before you even answer. "Dad's gone," my brother Tyler said, his voice hollow and strange. "Heart attack. He didn't make it." I sat up in bed, the room spinning slightly, trying to process words that didn't feel real. Our father, Marcus Bennett, 62 years old, healthy as far as we knew, just gone. I asked Tyler where he was, if he'd called anyone else. He said he was at the hospital with Vanessa, Dad's wife of 3 years. My stepmother. The word always felt wrong in my mouth, like biting tinfoil. I told Tyler I'd be there in an hour, threw on clothes in the dark, and drove through empty streets toward the hospital. The whole drive, I kept thinking about the last time I'd seen Dad, 2 weeks earlier at Sunday dinner. He'd seemed tired but fine, laughing at Tyler's jokes, asking about my work. Now he was gone, and Vanessa was already there, already in control. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. Tyler sat slumped in a plastic chair, eyes red. Vanessa stood near the nurse's station, on her phone, her voice low and urgent. She looked composed, dressed in expensive loungewear like she'd been ready for this moment. When she saw me, she ended the call quickly and walked over. "I'm so sorry, Chloe," she said, reaching for my hand. I let her take it briefly, then pulled away. Tyler stood and hugged me, and we just held each other for a moment while Vanessa watched. The doctor came out eventually, explained it was massive and sudden, nothing anyone could have done. Dad had been dead before the ambulance arrived. Vanessa asked about arrangements, about paperwork, about death certificates, her questions efficient and prepared. Tyler and I were still trying to breathe. The doctor handed forms to Vanessa, said something about the funeral home, and left. Vanessa folded the papers carefully and looked at us. "We should go home," she said. "There's a lot to handle." I wanted to argue, to stay, but Tyler nodded numbly. So we left, following Vanessa's car back to the house where Dad had lived, where everything was about to change. Dad's house felt different that morning, colder somehow. Vanessa unlocked the door and went straight to the kitchen, started making coffee like this was just another day. Tyler and I sat at the dining table, the same one where we'd eaten countless family dinners growing up. Our mother had picked up this table 25 years ago, before the cancer took her when I was 12. Dad had kept it through everything, through grief and loneliness and eventually through meeting Vanessa at some charity function 3 years ago. They'd married quickly, too quickly. Tyler and I had tried to be supportive, tried to be happy Dad had found someone. But Vanessa was different from Mom in every way that mattered. She was cold, calculating, always watching. And now she was pouring coffee in our mother's kitchen, playing the grieving widow. She sat down across from us and slid a folder across the table. "Your father's will," she said quietly. "He updated it last year." I felt something tighten in my chest. "Updated it?" Tyler asked. Vanessa nodded. "After we married, obviously. Everything changes when you remarry." She opened the folder, and I saw Dad's signature at the bottom of several pages. But something about it looked wrong. The handwriting seemed shaky, uncertain. Not like Dad's usual confident script. Vanessa walked us through the will like she was presenting a business proposal. The house would go to her, along with Dad's savings and investment accounts. Tyler and I would each receive $25,000, paid out over 5 years. The rest, nearly $800,000 in total assets, went to Vanessa. I stared at the document, reading the words but not understanding them. Dad had always told us he'd taken care of things, that we'd be provided for, that the house would stay in the family. This will said something completely different. Tyler's jaw was tight, his hands gripping his coffee mug. "When was this updated?" he asked. "Last November," Vanessa replied smoothly. "Your father wanted to make sure I was protected. He knew you both have your careers, your own lives." I looked at the signature again, that shaky, uncertain line. Dad's handwriting had been deteriorating? Since when? I didn't say anything yet, just watched Vanessa's face. She met my eyes without flinching, completely calm. The funeral is Friday, she continued. I've already contacted Morrison Funeral Home. They're handling everything. Just like that, she was handling everything. Dad's death, his will, his funeral. And Tyler and I were supposed to just sit there and accept it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dad's signature, about how wrong it looked. I'd seen his handwriting hundreds of times, birthday cards, grocery lists, the occasional letter when I was away at college. It was always strong and clear, even when he was tired. The signature on that will was different, weaker. At 3 a.m, I got up and opened my laptop. I started searching for information about will forgery, about how common it was, about what signs to look for. The articles painted a clear picture: shaky signatures, suspicious timing, beneficiaries who pushed for quick probate. All of it fit. I opened my email and found the last message Dad had sent me, just 3 weeks earlier. It was about Tyler's birthday, asking what we should get him. I zoomed in on Dad's signature at the bottom. Marcus Bennett, strong and confident. Nothing like the will signature. I screenshot both, put them side by side, and the difference was obvious. My phone buzzed. Tyler. You awake? I called him immediately. We need to talk, I said. About the will. He exhaled slowly. I know, he replied. Something's wrong with it. I could hear the relief in his voice, like he'd been waiting for me to say it first. Meet me tomorrow, I said. Early, before Vanessa wakes up. We need to figure this out. Tyler and I met at a diner across town at 6 a.m. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept either. I showed him the signature comparison on my phone, and his eyes widened. That's not Dad's handwriting, he said immediately. The will signature is way too shaky. I nodded. Vanessa said he updated it last November, right after they got married. Tyler rubbed his face. Dad was fine last November. He wasn't sick, wasn't struggling. His handwriting didn't just suddenly deteriorate. We sat in silence for a moment, letting the implications sink in. If the will was forged, that meant Vanessa had planned this. Had waited for the right moment. Had probably been waiting since the day she married Dad. I pulled up my phone again and called the one person I thought might help. My friend Austin worked as a paralegal at a law firm downtown. He answered on the third ring, groggy but alert when I explained the situation. Bring me everything, he said. The will, the signature comparisons, anything you have. If it's forged, we can prove it. But Chloe, you need to move fast. If she files for probate, things get complicated. How fast? I asked. He paused. You've got maybe 48 hours before she makes this official. Austin's office was small but organized, every surface covered with legal documents and case files. He cleared space on his desk and laid out the copies of the will we'd brought. Tyler sat beside me, nervous energy radiating off him. Austin put on reading glasses and examined the signature closely, comparing it to the examples I'd brought of Dad's real handwriting. After a long moment, he sat back. This is forged, he said bluntly. I'd bet money on it. The pressure points are wrong, the letter formation is inconsistent, and look here. He pointed to the signature. See how the pen lifted multiple times? Your dad's real signature is fluid, one smooth motion. This person was copying slowly, carefully. Tyler leaned forward. So what do we do? Austin pulled out a legal pad and started writing. First, we need the original will. Not this version, the real one your dad made before he married Vanessa. Do you know where he kept important documents? I thought for a moment. He had a safe in his office at home. I don't know the combination, but maybe we can figure it out. Austin nodded. Find that safe. Find the original will. Once we have it, we file an objection to probate and request a handwriting analysis. But you need to move now. Getting into Dad's office meant getting past Vanessa, which meant waiting until she left the house. Tyler and I parked down the street Tuesday morning, watching. At 9:30, Vanessa's car pulled out of the driveway, headed toward town. We waited 5 minutes to be sure, then used Tyler's key to let ourselves in. The house was quiet, almost eerie without Dad's presence. His office was at the back of the house, a small room lined with bookshelves and file cabinets. The safe sat in the corner closet, a heavy black box with a digital keypad. I knelt in front of it, mind racing through possible combinations. Dad's birthday didn't work. Neither did Mom's. Tyler tried his own birthday, then mine. Nothing. I sat back, frustrated. Think, I muttered. What would Dad use? Tyler looked around the office, his eyes landing on a framed photo of our family from years ago, back when Mom was still alive. He picked it up, examining the back. Chloe, he said quietly. Look at this. Written in Dad's handwriting on the photo backing was a date. Mom's birthday. I typed it into the safe. The lock clicked, and the door swung open. Inside the safe was everything Dad had wanted to protect. Stacks of papers, old photos, and right on top, a bound document labeled Last Will and Testament. My hands shook as I pulled it out. Tyler leaned over my shoulder as I flipped through the pages. This will was dated 4 years ago, before Dad even met Vanessa. It was clear and detailed. The house would be split between Tyler and me. Dad's savings would be divided equally among us, with a small trust set up for any future grandchildren. There was no mention of Vanessa because this was written when she didn't exist in his life. The signature at the bottom was unmistakably Dad's, strong and confident. This is it, Tyler whispered. This is the real one. I carefully photographed every page with my phone, then placed the original back in the safe. We needed to keep it secure until we could get it to Austin. As I was closing the safe, I noticed something else, a smaller envelope tucked in the back corner. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside was a handwritten note from Dad, dated just 2 months ago. If anything happens to me, the note read, make sure my kids get what I intended. I don't trust Vanessa. My throat tightened as I showed Tyler. Dad had known. Somehow, he'd known. Back in the car, Tyler and I sat in stunned silence. Dad had suspected Vanessa, had written that note like he knew something might happen. I felt sick thinking about it, about whether he'd been afraid, whether he'd tried to protect himself. Tyler's voice was hard when he finally spoke. She killed him. I shook my head. We don't know that. The doctor said it was a heart attack. Tyler's hands gripped the steering wheel. Chloe, Dad was healthy. He worked out, ate right, had regular checkups. And now we find out Vanessa forged a will and Dad didn't trust her. You can't tell me that's coincidence. I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to think Vanessa was capable of murder. But the pieces were there, dark and troubling. I pulled out my phone and called Austin. We found it, I said. The original will. He let out a breath. Good. Bring it to me immediately. We need to file objections before she submits the fake one to probate court. I checked the time. It was almost noon. How long do we have? Austin's voice was tense. Hours, Chloe. Maybe less. If she files today, everything gets complicated. We need to move now. Austin's office felt like a war room. He spread out both wills side by side, the forged version and the original, and photographed them for evidence. Then he made several copies of the original, sealed one in an envelope for court filing, and handed the rest back to me. Keep these somewhere safe, he said. Not at your house, not at Tyler's. Somewhere Vanessa can't access. I nodded, my mind already thinking of places. Austin was typing rapidly on his computer, drafting the legal objection. This document, he explained, would formally challenge the forged will and present the original as the legitimate version. It included a request for immediate handwriting analysis and a freeze on all of Dad's assets until the matter was resolved. How fast can this happen? Tyler asked. Austin didn't look up from his screen. If we file this afternoon and the judge sees it tomorrow, we could have a hearing by Thursday. That's your 48 hours. He hit print and the document began emerging from the printer, page by page. But here's the thing, Austin continued. Once we file this, Vanessa will know. She'll lawyer up, probably fight back hard. You two need to be ready for this to get ugly. I thought about Dad's note, about his warning. We're ready, I said. Austin filed the objection at 2:30 that afternoon. We stood in the courthouse hallway while he submitted the paperwork to the probate clerk, feeling the weight of what we'd just done. This was official now, public. Vanessa would find out within hours, maybe sooner. The clerk stamped the documents and handed Austin a copy. You'll receive notice of the hearing date, she said. Probably within 24 hours.